Welcome back, Revere. Grab a brew, here's everything that you need to know. The benefit of this being the third time out of lockdown is that we've done this before. And thanks to you handing out the Feed It Back tablets, we've managed to gain some interesting data. This line shows us what's happened to our guest opinion score after first lockdown and the second. You can see here that straight after the first lockdown, our guest opinion score shot right up, which is amazing. It took a bit of a dip after P12, but we'll look into that a bit more later. This red line shows you what Picture and Piano's guest opinion score has been doing, and the yellow one is for Revere bars. So you can see we've done pretty well. So in P3, we asked our guests what would be your biggest motivation to return. This graph shows you what the responses were. By far, the biggest reason to return was food quality, followed by drinks range, service and strong COVID measures. So we're going to have a look how you can impact 3 of those things and what we've done to help you get there. Food quality, strong COVID measures and service. 35% of our guests said that food quality would be the biggest reason for returning in 2021. So what have we done? Well, firstly, we've got a new menu full of summery dishes for people to enjoy al fresco. Now you should all be able to try these at your cook-off, but here's just a teaser of some of the dishes. We've also provided new training videos for every dish, so you can see exactly how everything is prepared and how it should be presented. We've also updated the training pack so you can see with each dish exactly how it should be presented, and you can print it off or have it on your phone. And then there's dish of the day. So let's have a very short explanation of why we do and why you should care about dish of the day. Back when there was just one pub, everyone that cared about it would probably work inside it. And all those people could have a direct impact on the high standards that were produced. When they grew and became 2 venues, time could easily be split between the 2. Fortunately for us, we have many venues spread right across the country. And as the venues grow, so too do the amount of people with an interest in the high standards that are produced. So what is it about Dish of the Day specifically that's so important to everybody that works in and around every venue? From a training point of view, by discussing each dish daily with our front of house teams and chefs, it makes sure that the standards are kept consistently high and the front of house team know exactly what they're selling. It's also a perfect opportunity to ensure that everybody, both front and back of house, has allergens at the front of their mind and the items aren't being substituted dangerously. Following the spec correctly shows an eye for detail and really good stock management, which pleases chefs, management, general managers, basically everybody. It also helps to be able to see if there are any items which are being sent from suppliers which are below quality or inconsistent, and this can then be sorted centrally. Fortunately, we've got Yapster, and our individual branded Dish of the Day Yaps mean that everybody that works in every single business and has an interest in the standard can benefit. And also, it's a bit of an excuse to let our chefs show off. This is why we do Dish of the Day. And you can look forward to Dish of the Day returning on Saturday the 1st of May. There'll be further comms come out closer to the time. One of the other biggest motivations for returning will be strong COVID measures. So let's take a look, with some furry helpers, what the current government guidelines are. So guests are only allowed to sit outside from the 12th of April. They are now allowed to just have drinks and don't necessarily have to have a meal. A maximum of 6 people from different households are now allowed to sit together, or more than 6 from 2 households can sit together, both for a maximum of 2 hours. Every guest who comes into the pub must provide their details either via the NHS Test and Trace app or using the Marston's QR code. Masks still need to be worn by everybody in the premises if they're walking round. They can be removed when they're seated. Social distancing is still so important between your guests and between you and your colleagues. Currently, we're not allowing bar service. You'll notice that there's new POS dotted around the site. There's new signage at the entrance and exit to guide people the correct way. And there's more signs directing people the correct way to the toilets, as well as reminding them to use their mask. Which brings us on nicely to cleanliness. It's impossible to overstate just how important good hygiene and cleanliness practices are at the moment. Our outside areas are now not only the first impression that our guests get, but this is where they'll be spending their whole visit. So if there's dirty plates left on the tables, or empty pint glasses strewn across the garden, or crisp packets blowing in the wind, or even my favourite, fag butts in the bushes, your prospective guests are going to take one look and walk off. Now, as your guests are all outside, so too should be your team. Constantly be on the lookout for things that could dissuade guests from visiting or that could upset a guest visit. And remember that one gust of wind could change the whole scene in an instant. We natively associate clean spaces with health, positivity and vibrance, so the more our guests can see that you're taking cleanliness seriously, the more that they'll feel relaxed. Have sanitiser stations in places that can actually be seen and used frequently. And maybe it goes without saying now, but continuously wash your hands. So let's have a look at the next one that our guests said would be their biggest motivation to return in 2021, and that is service. You'll be happy to find out that we aren't changing at all the steps of service. The only thing that's changing is it's going outside. There's no reason why we can't deliver the excellent table service that you do indoors, outdoors. We need to make sure that the host point is in the correct position for alfresco dining. As guests arrive, they'll need to be informed that it's 2 households or up to 6 people for 2 hours. And they'll need to provide their details using the NHS Test and Trace or the Marston's QR code. The host should also point out the sanitiser stations. You also need to point out the different methods for ordering and point out the table number and QR code if they're wishing to use the order and pay system. And then ask the guest if there are any allergies that should be aware of. From here, your main focuses should be to upsell, to check the speed of service is always efficient. And don't forget, to be able to sell anything to your guests, you need to be where they are, outside. You can easily remember our service by remembering that we are Revere Pub Company and we are guest obsessed. We've even thought up a handy acronym for you to remember our service. Conveniently, it's GUEST, meaning greeting, upsell, experience, standards, and thank you. For the BDI amongst you, you'll notice that these are very similar to our steps of service and our Revere golden rules. For example, for greeting is very much like our golden rule of we will always greet in 10 seconds and seat in 30. Upsell is we will always follow the 9 steps, in which there's always an opportunity to upsell. For experience, our golden rule is we will always go the extra mile to make someone's day. Standards, we will never accept poor standards. Thank you, we will always say hello, goodbye and thank you to every guest. So if you can't quite remember all of our steps of service and all of our golden rules, just remember that we are a Revere Pub Company and we are guest obsessed. Now, as I said at the beginning, all this information that we needed to be able to open brilliantly came from the feedback that you gathered from handing out those Feed It Back tablets. So hopefully that shows just how valuable that feedback is to all of us. So when we reopen and you keep doing an amazing job of being guest obsessed, hand out those Feed It Back tablets, get the feedback so we can keep being brilliant. Welcome back, Revere.